Hey there, this is Clay with modernlove.life, and this is the Relationship Inner Game Experience. So today we're going to be talking about the subject of how to stop being needy and how to stop being clingy in a relationship or in a dating sort of situation. Oftentimes people will try to look for the symptoms of neediness and clinginess, such as, I don't know, like calling like 10 times a day, or constantly asking for reassurance, or making it seem like you're like really interested in somebody or something like that. And then they'll try to suppress those symptoms, right? They'll try to stuff them down and just say, okay, if I just stop texting 10 times a day, if I just stop expressing interest in somebody, then I will not look needy, and therefore they'll be uncontrollably attracted to me, right? But that's not really what's going on, okay? So first of all, if you are needy or if you are clingy, the best way to not come across as needy or clingy is to just simply not be needy or clingy, okay? And I know that sounds really simplistic, but if you follow along, you'll maybe understand a little bit more about what I mean by that. So neediness and clinginess is really an attachment to outcome. It's an attachment to somebody else's opinion of you, okay? So you're trying to do things on your end to sculpt somebody else's opinion of you. And yeah, we all do this to a certain extent. We all try to look nice when we, go out of the house or go to some sort of, event where we might be, maybe dating somebody or in some sort of romantic context or something like that. We all try to look our best. That's normal. In terms of that is your level of self-esteem. That is, if you hold yourself in high enough esteem to actually put your best foot forward, okay? Whereas on the other hand, being needy or clingy is instead directing that. Instead of holding yourself in high esteem, you are holding someone else in high esteem, and you are sort of sculpting and curating your appearance, your behaviors, and how you're bringing yourself to the interaction with the intention of sculpting that person's opinion of you. It has nothing to do with how you perceive yourself and how you hold yourself up. Well, actually, it kind of does. But to you, it doesn't occur that way, because what you need to understand is that your level of self-esteem is determined by the amount of value that you put on your own opinion of yourself. And whereas neediness and insecurity is caused by putting too much value on other people and their opinions of you, okay? So what you need to understand and what you need to do to stop being needy and clingy is to put more value on your own opinion of yourself. Okay, and when this happens, it starts to change the way that you interact in a relationship. So, for example, instead of seeking validation from someone else in order to make yourself feel good, you can simply just look at areas in your life where maybe you aren't in alignment with your own values or whatever, and you can start to bring validation to yourself in that way. Now, there's also another aspect of neediness and clinginess where people also will try to tiptoe around the edges of really expressing their needs and wants and desires, okay? So we've talked about how neediness and clinginess can sort of express itself when you're over-invested in somebody else. But neediness and clinginess can also express itself when we are afraid to express our own needs and desires to other people, right? So instead, we don't vocalize these things. We don't vocalize the fact that, like, hey, maybe it's really important that if somebody says that they're going to meet us at 2 p.m., that they're actually there at 2 p.m. and not 2:30, okay? Because, for whatever reason, that's just something that's really important to us. And so if we were afraid to express that to that other person, it can cause us to drop into this world where we start to become very attached to the other person. We start to wonder what it means if they're showing up at 2:15, 2:30, 2:45, whatever, as opposed to showing up at 2 o'clock like they agreed to. And so if you can simply just express, hey, if you say that you're going to meet up with me at 2 o'clock, I would really appreciate it if you would be on time and be there at 2 o'clock, or if you're going to be late, let me know that you're going to be late. Otherwise, I'm just left thinking that you've abandoned me, or that you don't value our time together, or something like that. If you just simply express that, then the neediness goes away because you've let it out, you've expressed it, right? And then the other person can say, oh, okay, well, that works for me, or that doesn't work for me, or whatever, and you can actually have a conversation about it. But if you don't express it, then it just kind of becomes this thing that you're just like kind of worrying about, you're kind of trying to analyze their behavior to see if they're going to be late. You're trying to read into it. You're reading stories into it. And the whole thing is just kind of like making you anxious and kind of needy and clingy and all of that stuff, right? And it can get you to go and do things like keep score, which is what we talked about 2 weeks ago. So definitely check that out if you missed that one. But you want to get in the habit of expressing your needs. First of all, know what your needs are. A lot of people don't know what their needs are just because they have never actually thought just moment to moment, what do I want in this moment? 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 Instead, things just kind of happen to them and they're just kind of left feeling either good or upset or frustrated or whatever, and they actually don't think about, well, what does it actually want to happen right now in this moment? And if you can start to get in touch with that, you can start to understand what your needs are, and you can actually start to express those needs in a healthy way. I mean, obviously, don't express your needs in a terrible way, like, hey, you're being an asshole because you said you'd be here at 2, but you're here at 2:15, right? Like, obviously that's going to cause the other person to become defensive and not want to actually engage in a real conversation with you. But if you express it where it's like, hey, you know, when you said you'd be here at 2 o'clock, but it's 2:15 when you showed up, that causes me to worry, makes me think that you don't value our time together or something like that. So in the future, could you please show up on time or let me know? You know, that's an entirely different conversation because you're taking ownership of your experience. You're taking ownership of what your needs are. You're not kind of saying, hey, because my needs weren't met, that makes you wrong, right? That's not what I'm recommending at all. First of all, you're elevating your value. You're elevating your value in your own eyes, self-esteem, so you're not like looking to other people to fill you up. And second of all, you are feeling comfortable and okay expressing what it is you want in the moment. Okay, and once you feel comfortable expressing what it is that you want in the moment without needing somebody to do something else in order for it to be okay with you, then you are not needy and clingy anymore, right? So like, for example, in the meeting me at 2 o'clock thing, you know, I can express, hey, I need you to show up on time or at least let me know. That's an expression, right? But the other person can respond in any way that they want to, and it's not going to like make me wrong or upset or make me feel bad in any sort of way. I just expressed what my desire was, and if they're able to meet that, that's great. If they're not able to meet that, then that doesn't affect me on an emotional level. I mean, sure, I might need to stop and say, okay, do I really want to be in a relationship with somebody who can't show up on time if for some reason that's really important to me, even when I've specifically asked them to? That's another decision you may have to make, but you have to feel okay to express what it is that you want. You have to feel okay to express what it is what you want, and also give the other person the spaciousness to be able to respond however they will respond when you express what it is that you want. Because if you're just asking somebody to do something and, you know, they don't really have a choice, then you're not really asking them to do it. You're kind of controlling them, you're kind of commanding them to do it, right? And that's a very different kind of energy than actually having the spaciousness to either accept a yes or a no and to be emotionally okay with that, okay? This is what you need to know about how to stop being needy and clingy. With that being said, let's go to our questions from our students that are enrolled in our courses over at modernlove.life and see what kind of questions they have this week. Okay, our first question is from Era. Era writes in and says, "Hi Clay, I see that the next rig question post form isn't quite up yet, so I'll ask my question here for now before I forget it. Once it is up, I will move it." Yeah, we had a little bit of a breakdown in our posting thing, but don't worry, I got the question, so let's go ahead and continue. My ex said to me sometime last year that he didn't think it was possible for him and I to have a chemistry that he wanted in a relationship because we didn't have it when we were dating. We certainly didn't feel connected, and he had a lot of boring, dead conversations when we were together, thanks to our mutual shyness at the time. When he made that comment about a lack of chemistry, we were having some nice positive interactions, and I thought that we did have some chemistry, at least between friends, and the potential for it in a relationship setting was there. However, his lack of acknowledgement of it and his belief that we can't have chemistry is confusing me. It might have been because we were also having scattered arguments here and there, but maybe I really wasn't able to create that chemistry that he wanted. What might he mean when he says chemistry? Is it more than just having a nice, friendly, positive interaction? I believe that the advanced relational skills are the keys to creating that chemistry, but I don't quite understand how they can be used to create that chemistry with anyone. Is it all about bonding with another person on shared experiences and emotions, or is there more to it, like laughing at the same things, teasing each other, bantering, etc.? I see people say all the time that you can't change whether you have chemistry with somebody. Is that just a limiting belief? Why do people have that belief? Okay, yeah, so you're completely right. Chemistry is something that can be naturally created through cultivating the advanced relational skills. Chemistry is just a way for people to describe the emotional connection that they have with somebody else. And people often think that chemistry is some sort of elusive thing like the Holy Grail or a pot of gold, a leprechaun's gold at the end of a rainbow or something like that, simply because most people haven't really ever gone out and learned how to have chemistry in their day-to-day lives. So whenever they do experience it, it's just kind of hit or miss. You know, it's like if you were to just wake up some days and have a whole lot of energy, and other days you were to feel sluggish, but you didn't know why because you never bothered to take into account the food that you're eating or the exercise that you're going through or what time of day you're going to bed the previous day or something like that. And you're just like, oh yeah, you know, energy is just this elusive thing. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't, right? But just like how you can create the amount of energy that you have throughout the day based off of what you eat, how you exercise, when you go to bed, and various other factors, you can absolutely create chemistry with other people. Now, granted, some people are going to have similar personalities to you, so the chemistry will become much easier to generate in those circumstances with those people. And some people will have very different personalities to you, so the chemistry, the connection, will take a little bit more work. It'll take a little bit more present moment awareness or empathy or emotional acceptance or composure or communication or something along those lines, right? And yeah, chemistry is a whole lot more than just shared emotions or experiences, although that definitely can be a major factor to it. It can be about things like having a similar sense of humor, having a similar worldview, or something like that. However, that isn't necessarily the main thing that creates chemistry. It can often create an easier form of emotional connection, just like how, you know, for example, people who have similar experiences in life, like maybe they went to the same college, or maybe they work for the same company, or grew up in the same hometown, or something like that, might be able to have easier rapport with one another simply because they have these shared experiences. You know, oh, hey, do you remember old Professor so-and-so who used to fall asleep during lectures back in chemistry classes, or something like that? That's an easy way to create chemistry if you have that shared experience. But if you don't have that shared experience, you can use things like the advanced relational skills to connect on the emotional level on things that are deeper than the external things, such as where you went to school, where you work, where you grew up, etc. Okay, so chemistry is absolutely something that you can create through advanced relational skills. It can also be reflected through things such as your personality, through your banter, through things like that we also talk about, things like blurting, things like being authentic to who you are and stuff like that. So definitely keep that in mind. Chemistry is something that you can create when it comes to somebody else. If you're interacting with somebody and they say that you don't have chemistry with one another, in your particular case, I think probably it could be due to the fact that you're having some arguments with him. That definitely can make the connection a little bit difficult, simply because he isn't able to open up completely with you. You know, maybe sometimes the two of you are connecting, he's starting to open up, then you're having some sort of disagreement for, you know, any number of reasons, which is probably an issue with acceptance and empathy and stuff like that. But that kind of causes him to pull back a little bit, to start to see you as, you know, possibly maybe an opponent or somebody that he has to prove wrong or something like that, which of course is going to sever the emotional connection and take the focus away from the connection and put it on something else, like being right or proving somebody else wrong or something along those lines, okay? So when it comes to creating chemistry, it really is, for the most part, about the advanced relational skills. And if you are having arguments and things like that with this person, it's probably due to an issue with emotional acceptance, empathy, and things along the lines of that second relational skill. I would definitely look into that and definitely work on cultivating that. The other thing I want to put into your mind here is this idea of nice positive interactions. Okay, I don't know exactly what you meant by having nice positive interactions, but one other thing that I often see is that people end up going into what I call the polite trap. You know, they have these pleasant, polite interactions where they're being cordial, they're interacting with somebody else, and it's all nice and good. There's nothing particularly confrontational or full of conflict in their interactions, but there's also nothing really alive there. There's nothing really exciting there. There's nothing that's actually substantial because the other person maybe isn't sharing how they truly feel, what their experience is, or they're not having any real sense of empathy for the other person or something like that. So just be careful that you're not getting stuck in the polite trap. Oftentimes people end up in the polite trap when they're simply have a goal of not screwing up. And if your goal is to simply not screw up, it's not the same as having a goal of to actually succeed, because when you don't screw up, it doesn't necessarily mean that you win. It just means that you're maybe somewhere stuck in limbo where you haven't quite failed, but you also haven't quite achieved a great emotional connection. And so you're just sort of like living halfway between these two worlds. And what happens is if somebody lives for too long halfway between these two worlds, usually another person will put them and discard them into the, hey, that doesn't feel good place in their sort of mind, because they think, oh well, why is this person being so polite to me? Why are they being so nice to me? Or is it because they have some sort of hidden agenda? Are they trying to railroad me into a relationship or something like that? So definitely be careful of the polite trap, and I would really look at places in your advanced relational skills where you might be having some sort of weakness in your ability to connect, and I think overcoming that could really unlock this whole issue of chemistry and of connecting with somebody on an emotional level. So with that being said, thank you very much, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Okay, our next question is from Michael. Michael writes in and says, I posted in a forum a couple of days ago thinking that my ex was in riding the dragon phase, but I wasn't sure. We have a good connection, and she was talking about a future with us together, and it was leading up to more personal talks about getting together. Then she said she couldn't get back with me. She is in a relationship, and she apologized that she felt bad about leading us both on, that there might be a future, to which I showed empathy, saying I understand that there are a lot of emotions. She went on to say that she couldn't let go of the fact that I was stubborn and selfish. She said that we didn't have a solid, sober relationship in the past. There wasn't a day that neither one of us had a couple of drinks, to which I said, we're both sober, and we would be building a new relationship between two different people. Today, she was saying that she's in a relationship and that we can still be friends and that I need to move on, and she hopes that I do, saying she has. She asked that I stop trying to break them up or sway her because she's happy, which I never suggested they do. I've only brought him up once a few weeks ago, asking what she's going to do while he's in jail, and that's kind of started her exploring the option of getting back together. She was very adamant that I move on, saying that we will never be more than friends, and brought up the hurt that I caused before the breakup. She even knows that I wasn't the person I am during that time. There was a lot of drinking going on, I just wasn't present. She was saying that she's happy in the relationship, that she moved on, but 3 days ago she was talking about getting back together. So I guess what I'm asking, is this riding the dragon, or is this crisis point? Did I miss something somewhere that makes her bring up that the past that she wasn't bringing up last week? She even said that she knows that's not who I am, because she wouldn't have wanted to marry me in the first place. She's answering her own doubt, basically coming up with new ones. Is this something that is normal in these situations? Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about with you is the difference between riding the dragon and the crisis point. Now, riding the dragon is a place where your ex isn't really sure what they think of you. So sometimes you'll get hot behavior from them, sometimes sometimes you'll get cold behavior from them as they're trying to figure out what they want, where you fit into their life. They don't know where you fit into their life. So oftentimes they are confused, they're waffling back and forth, their opinion of you changes from moment to moment to moment, and they don't really know, okay? Crisis point, on the other hand, is where they have a pretty firm understanding that they have a strong connection with you, okay? They know that they have a strong connection with you. That is not the question here. At the crisis point is, what are they going to do about it? Oftentimes in the crisis point, they will try to wriggle out of confronting the feelings that they have for you by trying to actively discourage you. Things like saying, oh, well, we could never be together because I'm in a relationship with somebody else, or it just wouldn't work out because, all we ever did was drink, or something like that, right? And here, the main issue that they have isn't on whether or not they like you. It's simply on why the two of you won't work out. Here the question isn't even whether or not they like you. It's kind of taken as a given that they like interacting with you. The main issue here is all of the external reasons that the two of you wouldn't work out. And this isn't because they don't enjoy interacting with you. They actually do enjoy interacting with you. It's simply that they are uncertain about how to deal with it. They would obviously like things to be simple and easy. Nobody wants to have to go through these difficult challenges of trying to figure out, oh, should I break up with this person that I'm already in a relationship with in order to get back together with my ex? That would be hard because then I'd have to have a breakup talk with somebody, and I'm not really sure if it's going to work out if I get back together with my ex. And so, is this really something that I want to put myself through when I'm uncertain about it? So what if I just told my ex that we wouldn't work out, and maybe they'll just go off and date somebody else, and then this isn't even something I have to worry about because, they're not even wanting to be in a relationship with me anyway, right? That's more of a crisis point kind of conversation, whereas a riding the dragon kind of conversation that your ex might have with themselves is something more along the lines of, gee, I don't really know how I feel about this person. It seems like I really like them today, but then, the next day I really hate their guts because I remembered that thing that they said when we had that really bad argument. And then the day after that, I feel really bad because I really unloaded on them, and now I want to apologize to them and work things out and patch things up and maybe even get back together or become close or intimate in some way. So there's this big difference, right? So riding the dragon, they're confused about how they feel about you. In crisis point, they know how they feel about you, but they're confused about what to do about it. That's the main difference between the two of them, okay? And the second thing that I want to bring up about your situation, Michael, is your ex's concern about the fact that the two of you drink a lot. And although there's nothing wrong with, occasionally having a nice drink every once in a while, I do that from time to time myself too, but just know that if you're constantly drinking, that is often an attempt to escape the present moment. It's an attempt to escape some sort of sensation, okay? And if this is the case, then there's probably a strong possibility that you're maybe a little bit weaker than you could be on some of the advanced relational skills, such as present moment awareness, and really everything that's built upon present moment awareness, such as emotional acceptance, empathy, composure, etc., etc., etc. After all, if you're numbing yourself out so you don't have to feel something or trying to avoid something, then there could be a whole lot of things that are going on that you're just kind of oblivious to because you're just drunk or going through some other sort of substance issue or something like that. So that's something that I would look at. Of course, I'm not like some sort of counselor when it comes to that kind of thing. So if that's something that you would want to explore, I would recommend seeking out a professional to work through those issues or to see if that is something that maybe you have an unhealthy relationship with. But if you do have a healthy relationship with it, then that's fine too. But just know that whether or not something is an addiction or not, or even like a controlled substance or not, it's very possible to have an unhealthy relationship with something, even something like Facebook, even something like text messaging, even something like alcohol or smoking or food or whatever, right? It's possible to have an unhealthy relationship with something, and it's possible to use those things to avoid the present moment. I can't even begin to tell you how many people have written in over the years that have been using Facebook as a way to to avoid what's actually happening in the real world. You know, they get so obsessed over whether or not somebody likes a certain post that they have that they completely forget to pay attention to the actual quality of the emotional connection that they have with that person when they're interacting with that person face to face. Okay, so don't use things as a way to escape the present moment, but instead try to explore how you can connect more deeply to the present moment so that you can build many of those other advanced relational skills on top of that present moment awareness. Okay, so I hope that's helped you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Okay, our next question is from Jay. Jay writes in and says, "It's been about 3 months since the breakup, and I was just told by my ex through text that she started dating somebody new. The conversation we had today was very positive, so I asked her, let's call instead of meeting up. Our relationship was a long-distance relationship. However, she said that she was uncomfortable because the guy that she is dating was not okay with it. In this situation, how often should I ask her for a call? Or do I not ask her for it at all and just go for positive connections with her over text until she calls me? Thanks, Jay." Okay, Jay, so again, we don't want to just be kind of turning our brain off and texting somebody or calling somebody or even trying to call somebody at any sort of arbitrary given interval, right? So I wouldn't ever suggest that you try to call her once a week like clockwork, or try to call her once a month like clockwork, or anything like that. I would simply say try to call her when the quality of the interaction between the two of you seems like it would be enhanced by the two of you talking on the phone. Text her when the quality of the interaction is enhanced or improved by you texting her. If you start to text her and the quality of the emotional connection between the two of you starts to decrease, then stop texting her and figure out why the quality of the connection is decreasing, and don't contact her again until you have some sort of reason to believe that you can have a high quality interaction with her, okay? Same with calling. Don't try to call her again until you think that you can have a high quality call with her, okay? If you keep trying to robocall her or something while she's in this state where she feels uncomfortable talking to you on the phone because she has a new boyfriend or something, every time you call her, it's going to cause her to feel guilt. It's going to cause her to feel a little bit embarrassed by the fact that she can't talk to you, that she feels guilty, that you know, she can't pick up the phone and talk to you. Maybe she wants to even, but she can't do it because she made this promise to this other guy. And the more you agitate this guilt, the more she's going to pull away from you, and the less enjoyable it's going to be to interact with you. So the last thing I want you to do is to try to robocall her or robo-text her or anything like that. Because again, remember, simply just creating these arbitrary rules that you follow and turn your brain off, you know, rules are a replacement for actually being there. And I don't want you to just have rules dominate what you do or don't do in a relationship. I want you to actually be present to your relationship, present to the connections that you have with other people, so that you can feel into the moment and know whether it would make sense to suggest talking on the phone, to know whether or not it would make sense to text them today, to know whether or not it would make sense to, you know, meet up with them in person, okay? I want you to feel into the situation and understand the context, understand how they're feeling on an emotional level, understand how you are feeling on an emotional level, understand the quality of the overall dynamic between the two of you, and ask yourself, would it be enhanced by me reaching out and contacting this person? Would it be enhanced by me phoning this person? Would it be enhanced by me suggesting that we get together for coffee or something like that, okay? I want you to be in the present moment. I want you to actually be able to ascertain whether or not doing something is going to take you a step closer to where you want to go or a step further from where you want to go. I don't want you to simply just turn your brain off and follow a bunch of arbitrary rules, okay? Jay, I hope this helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Okay, so those have been our questions for this week. If you'd like to get more advice, tips, and strategies to help you get the kind of relationship or dating life that you want, please head on down below this video and click on the link that'll take you over to our website called relationshipinnergame.com. Over there you can fill out a short, painless, like 30-second questionnaire just kind of telling me where you're at, what kind of outcomes you're looking for, and all of that stuff. And once I know where you're at and what you want to happen, I can start sending you some tips, advice, and strategies. That's down below. With that being said, if you've liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can receive updates and notifications when we publish and upload new Relationship Inner Game episodes like this one. And please leave a comment down below letting me know what you think and letting me know what sorts of videos you'd like to see us make in the future. But once again, this has been Clay with modernlove.life, and I hope that this has helped you improve your Relationship Inner Game.